Hi everybody, it's Caitlin with Kait's Collectibles, and I have a new review for you today. It is the Sailor Uranus figure from the SH Figuarts line of Sailor Moon figures. So this is a figure I ordered off of Amazon recently. I don't know if it was the same for Amazon in the States, but in Canada, just before Christmas, after Black Friday, they had a huge sale on a bunch of these figures, and I didn't actually get her at her very lowest price. I waited just like a few days too long, basically. So I could have saved $5 more, but some of the figures were extremely low. At one point, the Saturn Figuarts figure was $13 Canadian. It's like maybe $10 American. It was crazy, the sale. Obviously she didn't go quite as low as that, but the lowest she went down to was around 30, 34-ish. So really good prices for these figures. I should have probably bought Neptune as well, but I just bought her for now. So let's get her out of the box. Interesting thing to note is that this is the first one of these figures I've received that's come with this kind of a box around it. I'm not sure if it shipped from Japan or quite what happened, that this box was included this time, but very neat little box and specific to the character because her name is here, as well as in the Japanese characters right there on the back. And it's got the Tamashii Nations logo down here as well. So let's take her out of this cardboard. I only opened it to make sure that the figure was intact in here, nothing else in there. So as we can see, really nice looking box and design. Very similar to the designs in the past. Zoom in a little on her here. So as we can see, we have got the warning label there. Her box is very predominantly blue and yellow, being her colors. You can see just a little peek of her talisman sword, as well as a little peek at some of the hands that come with her, just past the side of the figure there. Down at the bottom here, we've got the 20th anniversary logo. This is probably the longest 20th anniversary of anything ever, as well as the official sticker right here showing it's a real product, the Sailor Moon logo, and then the Tamashii and Bandai logos down there. Let's go to the back here. So some of the usual warnings. This is a first edition of this figure. They haven't done a second edition thus far, but one thing that is notable about the first edition is that she comes with a faceplate for Sailor Moon. She comes with this heart face for Sailor Moon, which is kind of neat. And then we've got a number of views of different poses for her. Talking about the figure, you've got a view of the different faces there in the corner here. She's not exactly known for, great big toothy smiles, so I think the smiling face is about as good as it ever gets for her. She's a little bit more serious usually. Now let's turn the box here so you can see another pose there, kind of doing her world shaking attack, and another just more standard pose with her holding the sword, although you can barely tell because it's the hilt and it's going the other way. So nice start to the figure here. So let's get her out of this box. She is still sealed in. Trying to find the nicer side to loosen it up from. Sometimes it'll go with my fingernail and sometimes it needs a little bit of help. So part of the reason I had waited on this figure for so long was because the price on these ones were quite high. I don't recall if they were some kind of a premium or limited release, supposedly, that then got a broader one. But the price point on these ones tends to fall more in the like the, well, Canadian dollars anyway, it's usually, I've seen it at about $56 on Amazon. That would include the shipping for free, but that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so we've got the instructions page here. So we've got all the usual information. So different hands, how to attach the faces, pretty typical. It's still got the bangs over the face. Oh, and it looks like she comes with some arms that are crossed, so you can actually take her arms off. I like that it points out, do not misplace the shoulder piece. Yeah, that would be a bad thing. The stand really hasn't changed in any way. And then it mentions the bonus face for Sailor Moon there. Let's take a look. So we've got the stand attached, at least the heart part, attached to the back, and it looks like the other piece is underneath the faces and the hands, which is, I think, a really good place for them. This one, because it's pointy, I can just rip right out of the plastic. So, as you can see, same sort of base as for the other characters. It's got the two little kind of bracing pieces here, and then the hole for the stand to fit into. Her symbol, her name, the same sort of little details and stars and things. It's in kind of that darker blue color that she is, I would say, more known for. I always really liked her symbol. I thought there was something neat about it. I don't know. Probably because it's so symmetrical. Let's put that there. Okay, so I've taken that outer plastic off so you can see how she comes packaged here. So there's those crossed arms that I couldn't see in the window. That is really cool. It's kind of the first time they've done something like that. I guess because it is really one of those poses that, I mean, you can kind of imitate it with the bendy joints, but to really get the full look, that's what you need. I want to take a closer look at this piece. So, let's see if we can get a good view of it here. Move that to... Okay, so that is an exceptionally unnatural way for her hand to be sitting, and that paint is, I think, pretty sloppy in there. I don't know. Like, that's just so weird. Like, no one sits their hand like that, really. You know, like her hand, like this part, if it was truly like crossed, right, it would be folded down on her arm like this, not like sticking sideways. I don't recall. If anyone has an image from the show where her hand is like that, like this, please let me know. Okay. Short gloves, yay. Now again, this seems a little unnatural. Maybe it's just that angle. I'll see some sloppy paint right there too. I should stop moving this so much so you guys can actually see it. So some sloppy paint there. Same with her fingers around the arm there. A little bit of white. Considering the cost of the figure, like I would think the paint job would be a little more detailed. And then I'm assuming these indents are probably because of how the sleeves are going to sit, but we'll have to see. Let's look at the sword. So this I like. This is pretty nice. So it's got the jewels, nice and shiny, really bright metallic-y paint on there. The handle is done very well. I like that they included a little bit of the detail to it. It's awesome to see her actually come with this as an accessory, much like Neptune has her mirror talisman. You know, she needs to have Haruka needs to have her sword. Let's get the face plates out. I'm going to take that plastic cover off so it's less reflective. We'll see if I can do this without shooting them all everywhere. There we go. Okay. So faces. As you can see, we have got smiling face, attack face. I don't know what to call that face. Side eye. Side eye face. And then Sailor Moon's heart face, which I'm totally going to put on Haruka because that's going to be hilarious. The hands I like. They've got the hand tree again here. The spine. I wonder if there's anyone out there who like takes these, you know, in the spines and just stacks them all, because it seems really impractical. I mean, it's nice in terms of holding them in the packaging. You just, if you were keeping them, you know, loose or on display so you could access them really quickly, you'd still need something more stable than this. Once you stack more of them, it just makes it hard to get at the ones you want. But I do really like the hand selection they've got for here. Same like with doing like world shaking, you know, they've got the right accessory hands to do that. So that's nice. Pretty typical in terms of everything. Why do I always forget? Does she only has one earring? Clearly, I do not pay enough attention to the show. I like her character. She's just not, you know, my penultimate favorite character. So sometimes those are details I don't notice. So let's pull her stand pieces out here and we'll get those set up. So we'll get the wand portion on the go. Okay, so we have got Haruka, Sailor Uranus, all out of the packaging here. Try and get nice and close here so you can see a good view of the face. The paint on the faces is really nice. The eyes are always really well done. I really like the color of the hair, which seems like a simple thing, but sometimes she comes out, I find, kind of like yellow blonde like some of the other girls, where she's a much more pale blonde. Nice metallic paint for the fuku. As you can see, no lines on hers. Single earring, plain choker, slightly different metallic blue around the bow center. Hands, gloves, pretty good. See if I can get that to cooperate a little bit better. Move all these accessories. There we go. Joints are pretty good from what I can feel. Skirt looks good. The back bow is blue. Boots I really like. I've always been a fan of the way they did her boots, since she's kind of a cross between, you know, a taller and a shorter boot. The little strappy bits are great. The heels are nice as well. So let's see about changing a couple of her pieces out here. Okay, so, oh, there. So that arm comes off really easily. That is something to keep in mind when, oh, but that one not quite as easily. Okay, so that one just might not have been put in very well. Just in terms of, you know, the ease of I don't know, ease of setting these up. Okay, I see how this works. So those pieces come down. So you can see these slide off, which is why it said do not lose them. These are not easy to put in. I'm going to try and see if I can get her to cooperate a little bit off camera. Mainly the reason I'm finding it difficult is because the pieces slide around and they're supposed to fit, you know, a certain way. This might be easier if I were able to get one of the arms to fully click in, which I think I've got now. But how do you get the other one to bend? There we go. I think-ish, kind of, maybe. Okay, so unless I've done something incredibly wrong here, which I don't think I have based on the way these are looking. There we go. Boy, like, well, you'll see as soon as I stand her up here. Okay, so here she is with the arms in place. So those little indents were to fit around the chest area. And you can see, like this one I was having a heck of a time with because it sticks out so far and you can't really get it to cover up the shoulder portion, so it just looks really saggy, which is, you know, not great. And the arms are really stiff, so trying to actually get these in place is pretty tough. So, well, I think the effort in terms of, you know, I mean, if I were to just stand her like that and set her back somewhere, yeah, she'd look fine, I suppose. But when you get really up close and personal with it, it's not great. Like, sort of a for effort, but I'd say more of a C plus, B minus for execution. So you can see like it doesn't fit in fully there, and same with on this side. So I don't care for that. I kind of doubt that I will be using those arms very much in terms of how I pose her anyway, because I like my poses a little bit more dynamic. So let's stick that out. This is how I found this works best. And tuck that in there. Okay, tuck that in. There we go. Arm is, I think, back in the socket, not quite. The other one's here. So, a little bumping around. Aha, okay. So there's also a side of these. I didn't take the other one off, but there's a side that has, it's going to be really hard to see, that little tab. That little tab is where the arm has a little tab on it as well. And that's supposed to fit in there to give it a snug. Oh, see, that went in way easier. And then her shoulder joint popped back up. I should double check this one and see if maybe I have it backwards, because I think I do. Yep. Ha, there we go. Much better. Maybe that'd help with those arms too, is making sure you have the joints lined up 100% properly. I'll have to try that again. So bangs come off really easily. Face is on there rather tightly. There we go, little wiggles from each side. Put the heart face on her. Let's go with her happy face, not just looking all stern all the time. Once they take care of any outside invaders to the earth, they should have every reason to smile. There, that looks nice. So basically, I do really like this figure. Other than a couple of details with those arms, the paint is really nice on it. The paint for the figure itself, anyway, is really well done. She's got these issues with her arms that I think are going to make it a challenge in terms of posing her. I'll just have to be a little bit more gentle, perhaps. But I don't like having to, like, kind of, I don't know, pussyfoot around how I've got my figures posed. I like to be able to just pose them the way I want them. I don't move them particularly rough, so the fact that they come, like in her case, the shoulder comes out that easily, that's not great. But that said, they've done a really nice job in capturing the spirit of the character. I know that they announced the Super Sailor Mercury figure, and she is the only super figure that they've announced thus far anyway, besides Super Moon, but she doesn't really count because that's really more of Crisis Moon as far as I'm concerned. So I don't know if down the road they'll do a super version of the outers as well. One of the things I like about the outers is that their fukus were very different from the other senshi. Like, everybody had little aspects that made them perhaps different from the others, but these ones were the first ones where they were, I would say, distinctly different, with the short gloves, for example, for Haruka and Michiru's characters. Haruka's boots, the lack of stripe on the collar, Michiru's choker, things like that were, what made them really different. They had a different sort of a transformation. So in my opinion, having them in the super transformed version for me isn't a big selling feature as well. I don't know what accessory they could possibly come with that would make that more appealing to me. So that's something they'd have to figure out. But all in all, I do really like this version of the figure. If you can find it for a good price like I did, definitely jump on that, especially since it's a first edition. Down the road, they may republish these figures, but they won't theoretically include that bonus. Something to note is that she is the only one of the outers that thus far that have had that kind of a bonus. None of the others have had additional faceplates for any other characters. So she would be the one, if you're thinking between her and Neptune, she would be the one to get in terms of getting that first character bonus, especially if you already have one of the Sailor Moon figures so that you can utilize it. So overall, a pretty solid figure. Happy to have her as part of my collection. That means the only one I am still waiting on getting now would be Neptune. So I've been keeping an eye on her prices, what with the sale that they just had. And Pluto has been announced, but I haven't seen a release date anywhere. As of what I heard last was that she was going to be a P Bandai exclusive. I don't think she will stay that way. I think it's just P Bandai is going to get the initial release. So I'm kind of hoping on that because that's how it was for a number of these figures. But regardless, I'm going to jump on the order for Pluto when it comes out. And I believe they'd also announced a Black Lady figure, which I haven't heard anything else about either. So that's another one that I think I'll definitely want to get just because of the nature of the character. So if you have a figure that you're waiting for, whether it's Black Lady, Pluto, some other kind of figure, maybe a Princess Serenity, for example, let me know what your dream figure art would be in the comments below. You can, of course, like this video, subscribe if you want to see my updates. Make sure you share it if you have friends who might be interested. And of course, you can also find me on Twitter inconsistently at Kait Collectible. Thanks for watching.